Hello, we'd like to welcome you to this webinar on content moderation, and specifically with the improvements and accuracy changes that we're introducing with Content Moderation version 6. I'm Kevin Carlson with the AWS AI/ML team, and together with Shipra Kanoria, we're excited to introduce you to some of the new features and functions with content moderation on AWS. Today, we'll spend some time talking to you about why it's important to moderate user-generated content. We'll give you some overview of the capabilities, and we'll demonstrate Amazon Rekognition's Content Moderation version 6. We'll share with you some customer stories and solutions, and we'll introduce how to get started moderating content on AWS. We are definitely entering the era of user-generated content. I was most surprised by the first statistic on this slide, which says that 80% of all of the web is actually created by users like you and me. And more importantly than where that content is created is how that content influences the decisions and the behavior of consumers. So 79% of consumer decisions are directly influenced by user-generated content that they encounter. That could be in an online marketplace, it could be on a social media platform. And this is an industry that is growing. So the user-generated content platform industry as a whole is projected to be $20 billion by 2028. And so we're very excited to show you how version 6 of our Content Moderation API brings improvements to moderate the content that's created by users across all of the web. And what this means for our customers is that there is a growing need to moderate content of all kinds on the web. And so our customers are facing many different kinds of challenges when they think about content moderation. There's a super high volume of user-generated content being created. Our customers are building online communities that are vibrant and they're growing, and there's a need to keep these communities safe and inclusive. Where our customers have started moderating content with humans in the loop, there's a chance to better allocate that human skill and to meet that need with automated solutions based on AI/ML. There are an increasing number of compliance requirements and guidelines that govern the content that's created. And there's this ever increasing need to reduce the cost of moderation. And the benefits they're seeking to achieve are that improved brand safety, improved user interaction on the web, scaling the coverage, so increasing the amount and type of content that's moderated, reducing that workload on humans and saving time and cost in the process. And the way to do that is with artificial intelligence and machine learning on AWS. When we think about content moderation, we think it's relevant to many of the industries that we see have incredible growth in recent years. So social media, where users are creating profiles and uploading content to describe themselves and their activities. The gaming industry, where there's lots of interactivity between players, players of all ages and in real time or near real time. The e-commerce industry, where people are reviewing products and brands on the web and providing opinions that impact the perspective that people have on those marketplaces. And advertising, where ads have to be appropriate for the kinds of content that they're being overlaid on. And then there's highly regulated industries where content is moderated due to compliance and personally identifiable information and other reasons that are driven from a regulatory perspective. So when consumers engage in online environments, they expect a safe and inclusive experience. So more than half of us create some kind of content online at least once a day. And when that content is created, it's there for others to experience and see. And 40% of consumers will then disengage if they're exposed just once to some kind of toxicity on the web. And more importantly, for many of our customers, this content is affecting the decisions that consumers make in online environments. So consumers feel that brands are responsible for the marketplaces that they create, and they're responsible for the kind of content that gets posted, even if it wasn't created by the brand itself. When we talk about content moderation at AWS, what do we mean? AWS has the largest and broadest stack of AI and ML tools to apply to all kinds of use case problems. At the very bottom, we think of frameworks and infrastructure. So things like compute power and machine learning frameworks that data scientists can use to solve machine learning problems. In the middle, we have a tool set called Amazon SageMaker. And SageMaker is a collaborative environment where data scientists, but also data engineers and business professionals can engage and collaborate to build models and solve problems. And at the top of the stack, we have managed AI services. And the managed AI service we're going to spend the most time talking about today is Amazon Rekognition. Using Amazon Rekognition's content moderation API, you can moderate images in many different ways. And Shipra is going to speak to you about that in a bit. So why would you choose Amazon Rekognition to deploy a content moderation solution? You can build faster. You can reduce operational costs because you're using services that are pre-trained and they're ready to be deployed in your environment. Because they're pre-trained and fully managed, these APIs allow customers to simplify the operational overhead they will otherwise have to bring to bear to train models, manage models, deploy models, et cetera. And it's easy to customize by using things such as confidence scores so that you can think about how the outputs of these models apply to your business and your needs. But Amazon Rekognition does many different things and is applied to many different kinds of use cases. In addition to content moderation in the upper left, we can provide identity verification tools. We can do face detection, analysis, comparison, and search. There is a full-featured labels API that will return information on over 3,000 different individual labels and over 650 different kinds of objects. There's a custom labels API that can be used to train moderation environments where you're looking for specific things like brand logos or icons that are maybe not part of other parts of the Rekognition pre-trained models. We can do text detection. So when text appears in an image, maybe it's on a t-shirt or it's on a sign, we need to be aware of that for moderation. We can recognize celebrities, do video segment detection, many other types of functionality. So many of these Rekognition APIs are used in concert to deliver the content moderation use case. But we know that content moderation is not necessarily just a visual problem. And so there are other APIs inside of AWS that can be used together to give you a more full-fledged moderation capability. So we use Amazon Rekognition for image and video analysis, but we use Amazon Transcribe to do speech to text, Amazon Translate for translation, Amazon Comprehend for natural language processing, and then something called Amazon Augmented AI or A2I to inject human-in-the-loop reviews into a content moderation workflow. When we think about all of these different modalities together, and we think about a consumer maybe operating in a gaming environment or an e-commerce environment or a social media environment, we want to look at them together. So you can think of these APIs as overlapping capabilities that together provide the best possible set of tools for moderating content. So text may come from audio via Amazon Transcribe, be looked at in different languages via Amazon Translate. Comprehend allows us to pull out keywords and propensity of different kinds of sentiment in that content. And then Rekognition is used for the overriding image and video moderation. So the content moderation API is very full-featured, and it provides data in two different kinds of formats. There are top-level categories, which are larger groupings, and then there are second-level categories, which allow you more fine-grained control over what you consider to be inappropriate content or content that needs to be moderated. And when we think about our different kinds of markets and customer segments, we start to see why this becomes important. So if you are a website aimed at an audience of a certain age, you may want absolute control over barring content that could be at all inappropriate. And you may want to be very conservative in that decision. But if you're an advertiser, you may be looking for areas in videos or images where ads can be overlaid. And you may have a higher tolerance for what content is moderated because you're trying to maximize ad revenue and availability in that video space. And so by using these top-level categories, the second-level categories, and the confidence scores, you can apply the content moderation API from Amazon Rekognition to your business.
Thank you, Kevin, for highlighting the importance of content moderation and the solutions offered by AWS to moderate harmful and inappropriate content. So Kevin already discussed about our moderation taxonomy with you earlier. We have 10 top level categories, which are marked here in orange. And within those 10 top level categories, we have 35 second level categories. Now, I will show you some examples specifically for violence, tobacco, and the alcohol categories. So, let's walk through a demo together of how content moderation works in practice. This is a use case for online marketplaces. Many of our online marketplaces use content moderation today to screen product images to prevent listing inappropriate product listings on their platform. On the screen, on the left, you see an appropriate image of a purse. And on the right, you see the response from Rekognition Content Moderation API. And you see that the model has not detected any of the moderation classes that I discussed just previously. Contrast it with this image where you see an image of a handgun, image of a handbag with a visible handgun. And the moderation API response on the right here actually now gives you the top level category, which is the parent category of violence, and the subcategory of weapon violence within that, with a score of 90%. As I walk you through future examples, you will see the same moderation API response for moderation classes, where we will give you the parent category, the subcategory, and the confidence score for the label detected by our moderation API. A second example for marketplaces is watches. You see here on the left an appropriate image of a watch that somebody may want to sell on your online marketplace, and the moderation API does not detect any inappropriate classes in this image. Contrasting it with this image, where the moderation API detects that there is a bare chested male in a suggestive category with a confidence score of 95%. Moving on, I now want to show you some examples that are relevant to online communities and social media. Many of our customers in online communities and social media use content moderation today to identify inappropriate content in profile images and user uploaded images. This is once again an appropriate profile image, and the moderation API response does not detect any of the moderation classes. Moving on to some examples that may be inappropriate for your community. Here is an example of smoking where the model correctly detects smoking. The next example I have is of alcohol, where the model correctly detects that, hey, there's an alcohol present in the image with a score of 91%. And the last example is of a rude gesture, specifically middle finger, which the model detects. Once again, as you see, we have confidence score for all of these classes, and we leave the choice on how to use these confidence scores and which classes to moderate to our customers. The last set of examples that I want to walk you through today are for marketing and advertising use cases. Many advertising technology companies use content moderation today to ensure that the brand imagery meets their content guidelines. On the left, you see an image which is an advertisement for a running shoe. And once again, our moderation API says that, hey, I do not see any inappropriate moderation classes in this image. Contrast it with this image, where the model says that there is tobacco and tobacco products present in this image. And this may not be an image that you want to use for your particular brand. Here's another example of marketing and advertising where we have an example of an appropriate brand imagery, and we see that the moderation API response does not predict it to contain any of the moderation classes. Contrast it with this image where you have coffee, but you also have guns, and the API correctly predicts that, hey, the image contains weapons and violence with a confidence score of 90%. Now, I want to share some customer success stories with you of our customers who have successfully used content moderation for their businesses. First is Dina, which is a voice community in Japan and which is using Recognition's Detect Text API to identify and redact text that is not recognized by standard speech to text services. As a result of using the Detect Text API, Dina has achieved higher moderation accuracy and faster response times. Second is Flipboard, which is a content recommendation platform, and they are using Amazon Rekognition content moderation to automatically detect violations in 1.2 billion images every year. As a result of content moderation, Flipboard has achieved lower false positive rates and are able to detect 63,000 inappropriate images every single day. Last is Mobi Social, which is a gaming and a streaming platform which is using Amazon Rekognition to flag non compliant images and videos. With Amazon Rekognition's content moderation, Mobi Social has reduced manual moderation by 95% and has achieved increased accuracy and scalability with Rekognition content moderation. Now I will switch it over back to Kevin, who is going to show you how moderation works in action.
Thanks, Shipra. Let's look at content moderation in action. So here we'd like to share with you a solution called Media to Cloud. You can download AWS's Media to Cloud solution, and you can analyze photos and videos of your own against our APIs. Here you see some of the configuration options. We can look at the Celebrity API, the Face API, and of course, the Moderation API. Once we make our configuration selections about which APIs we're going to analyze with, we can upload content into the catalog. In this case, you'll see a number of videos and photos that clearly have content that needs to be moderated. By selecting one of these images or videos, we can play the content, and at the lower left, we can see the output of a variety of our AWS APIs. In this case, let's look at some moderation content. So here we can see that the APIs accurately predicted things like alcohol and beer glass in the content. And you can see that this analysis was run once a second on the video. So whether it's our moderation API or our labels API or our text API, we can use Media to Cloud as a way to get information on what these APIs will produce with content of our own. It's a great way to test and demonstrate the moderation APIs. We'd love for you to get started using content moderation on your content. Please scan these QR codes, try and learn Amazon Rekognition. You can qualify to use the free tier, of course, for thousands of images and videos free per month. You can look at our content moderation webpage where we have guidance to how to deploy content moderation. We encourage you to reach out and contact us or find a partner in our AWS partner network who specializes in computer vision, Amazon Rekognition, and content moderation. Thank you very much for your time today. Shipra and I are very excited to see what you do with Amazon Rekognition's content moderation API, and specifically the improvements in version 6 to lower cost and have better outcomes with content moderation. Please reach out to us to connect on LinkedIn, and we're excited to hear from you.